Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to any new viewers, any new subscribers. Thank you for clicking onto this video. My name is Marianne Guevara, and here on this channel I love reading books and watching movies, and I'm just here to talk about, share my thoughts on things that I've read and have watched. And for today's video, I thought I'd do a little update, something that I would call the then, now, and later update. It's based off of a tag on Bookstagram, and it's basically me just talking about my wrap-up from last month, what I'm currently reading, and then what I'm planning on reading, but also including movies in it, so notable films that I have watched, and then also films that I plan on seeing in the next, or this month, basically. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get started. So for my January wrap-up, I basically just read 2 books. And the first one is The Other by Thomas Tryon. I did talk in depth about the synopsis in a previous video that I will link down below, but I really enjoyed this one. This was a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is basically considered a landmark within psychological horror, and I thought this was excellent. The horror in this novel is very much the creeping kind. It's one that you can feel the terror or the horror slowly encroach on you from like the outside going in. And I would definitely recommend this book to fans of Shirley Jackson, because I was definitely getting Shirley Jackson vibes. Thomas Tryon really does a good job of portraying characters, and you sense a presence of multiple layers to their personality, but he never goes in depth into those layers. He kind of just lets you ruminate for yourself on them. Yeah, so this was just an excellently dark read. There is a bit of violence in here, but the violence isn't gratuitous, and it's handled in a way where you really feel the impact of the horrendous act. This came out in 1971 and does have like a twist that I've seen repeated several times in books, in other movies, in TV series. So it may not seem, that astounding when you read it, but the execution was well done. And yeah, The Other I would highly recommend if you're into a dark psychological read. The next book I read was Time at a Joint by Philip K. Dick, and this one was a 4-star out of 5. An excellent, solid Philip K. Dick. I would definitely recommend this to people who want to start off or want to start reading some Philip K. Dick, mainly because this is out of the ones that I've read from him, this is like the most straightforward one. The plot is kind of explained or revealed to you along the way without being, confusing, unlike, A Scanner Darkly. Similar to The Other by Thomas Tryon, I did explain in depth the premise of this book, but needless to say, this was an excellent, captivating, read. The plot was just so intriguing, and it very much felt like a paranoia frenzy. That's how this book was kind of turning out to be. I felt very paranoid. The book does a really good job of making you feel as paranoid as the main character, Rachel Gum. And yeah, the twists were clever. I believe they were well executed, and if you're in for, a bit of a, who's who, what's going on sort of story that was, pretty clever, I would say give Time Out of Joint a go. Yeah, a solid Philip K. Dick for sure. Now, as for the notable movie that I read in the past month, that would have to be John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. I'm one of the very few people, or maybe, I don't want to say very few, but I am one of those who hadn't seen this classic, and I'm very glad that I did. This was an amazing sci-fi horror movie. So if you're unfamiliar with The Thing, this takes place in Antarctica, and we're following a group of American research scientists who stumble upon this parasitic creature that was dug up from the ice and is slowly coming after them one by one. This is an excellent film, a great example of perfectly executed tension, like the slow camera pans, the slow shots, and then the simple but effective music. Then you also have the performances that really sell the horror, that really sell the terror and the absurdity of, the situation as a whole. Not to mention that this film has pretty much the best dog performance I've ever seen put to film. So that's another thing. But honestly, the main star of this film would have to be the special effects. The practical effects that is done in this film are phenomenal. This was done in 1982, and it still holds up to this day. If you love horror, if you're a fan of horror and you haven't watched The Thing, please do. It is a fantastic film. And yeah, I am so glad I was able to watch this. I don't know what they were doing in the late 70s, in the early 80s, where they were just pumping out so much good sci-fi, like Alien or Blade Runner and now The Thing. Fantastic film. So yeah, if you haven't watched it, please do. Now for the book that I'm currently reading, as of right now, I am reading The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy. And if you're unfamiliar with this one, I believe this came out in 1874. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Hardy. My last 3 Hardys were all 5 stars. And basically this takes place within, of course, Hardy's Wessex. And we're following a young woman named Eustacia Vi, a very passionate, willful young woman who at a young age left her cosmopolitan upbringing to live with her grandfather in what is known as Edgton Heath after the death of her parents. And basically she feels very constricted and out of her element within Edgton Heath. And one day there's a young man that comes home to Edgton Heath from Paris, and she believes that he's sort of like her ticket out of there. But she soon finds out that he actually has intentions on staying there once they marry. So there's a lot of drama going on, as per usual when it comes to Thomas Hardy. What can I say about this? This is an amazing... Honestly, I think this is like another winner from Thomas Hardy. I of course, I love the melodrama in his stories, but this one seems more downplayed compared to his other previous works that I've read. But I think for this novel in particular, of course, when you read Thomas Hardy, you might notice that there's a lot of emphasis on the natural world. Thomas Hardy was a naturalist, and there just seems to be more emphasis on the surroundings of the natural world of Edgton Heath. Like, I feel like Edgton Heath really is its own character on its own, and this place in particular, compared to any of the other places in Thomas Hardy's works, I feel is so fleshed out. Like, I feel like I'm living, breathing within Edgton Heath, and yeah, it is spectacular. So yeah, Return of the Native, I'm like this far in, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen at the end. I'm kind of holding it off because I am kind of scared what's going to happen to these characters, but yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. So yeah, hopefully this ends up being another 5 stars. Now for some of the books that are I plan on reading, so my TBR for the month of February. Some of these I won't rattle off of the summaries because once again, I did explain some of the plots in previous videos. So the first one I have here is actually a newly acquired book, and that is The King in Yellow by R.W. Chambers. And this is basically a classic within the weird fiction genre, which I really wanted to get into. This one is basically 4 short stories, I believe, that all focus or center on this play that is named The King in Yellow, that have an effect on people to sort of make them go mad. I've already read the first one in this collection, The Repairer of Reputations, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to the other 3. So yeah. And for more weird fiction, I really need to get to The Dreams in the Witch House and Other Stories by H.P. Lovecraft. I've been meaning to read this for quite a while, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is basically just the second volume I have of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories. This one contains The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, then the title one, The Dreams in the Witch House, which I heard is really good. Shadow Out of Time. So yeah, if you are unfamiliar with H.P. Lovecraft, of course he's like one of the, you know, major influences of modern day horror. Like there are a lot of things that are heavily inspired by Lovecraft, and after reading the Call of Cthulhu and other weird stories and loving it, I just wanted to you know, go further in reading more of his work. So I have collected a lot of his other works, so I really want to get to this one as well. So yeah. Then I do plan on getting to Lives of the Caesars by Suetonius, because I've heard a comment on a previous video mentioned that this was a good translation, and I've just heard from people who read this that it's just a fun read. The way that Suetonius explains the lives of these different men, sort of like in a gossipy way, so that kind of intrigued me more into reading this one. So yeah, if you're unfamiliar, this is basically just 12 mini biographies of 12 Caesars, starting from Julius Caesar all the way to Domitian. And yeah, looking forward to getting a better understanding of Roman history. And the last book on my TBR is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. This, like I said in a previous video, I'm really looking forward to this one. This one is another 5-star, you know, TBR prediction. I loved his 2 other novels, Never Let Me Go and The Remains of the Day. So I'm really looking forward to The Buried Giant and hoping that I also end up loving it. This is quite different from his other novels, considering that it's more of historical fiction and that it takes place in post-Arthurian Britain, which his other novels, they never really ventured into that kind of genre before. But yeah, looking forward to this. The last item on the docket is Roman Polanski's Tess. This film I'm planning on watching for this month for sure. And yeah, after reading The Return of the Native, I just got in the mood to wanting to watch Tess, which is an adaptation of Thomas Hardy's Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And yeah, it's a beautiful film from what I've seen, and I'm looking forward to how Roman Polanski adapted Hardy's novel and what changes he made, what he kept, and all that stuff. And also finally seeing Natasha Kinski's performance in here, because I know she's a well-beloved actress in many cinema circles. So yeah, that was my first then, now, later update. So thank you for stopping by and clicking on this video. And if you would like, please leave down a comment on anything about what I'm planning on reading, what I have read, what I'm currently reading, and of course the movies involved as well. And if you like the content that you've seen here, please consider liking this video and subscribing. I do try to be a bit regular with my videos and try and make them vary or make them more diverse. Please share down also what you read for the month of January, or what you watched and what you're planning on reading and watching later in this month. And yeah, once again, thank you very much and see you next time.